What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to what it seems like an eternity since I've made one of these, an Outriders video. Today I'm going to be discussing some of the things which we will definitely see in Worldslayer, the expansion coming for the game, and some things which I definitely think won't make it into the expansion. Now let me preface this by saying that all of this information is purely speculative from my side. I don't know any more than any of you do, and I've seen the same trailers as you guys, and I've seen the same things as you. So this is basically just some ideas from my side on what I think we will most likely see and what doesn't actually make the cut, or what is not feasible for them to do in the game. Now I'm going to do this in kind of, and by the way, this is not in any particular order, but I'm going to do it in the order of, this is one thing we'll get, this is one thing we won't get, this is one thing we'll get, this is one thing we go get. You get what I'm saying? So first and foremost, definitely something that we're obviously going to be getting is additional levels to the character, whether that is in terms of gear levels, in other words, additional levels for you to level your gear up on, or your actual character, or actually both of them. But I think it is highly likely that we are going to be seeing additional levels for our characters that we can level up. Whether those include additional skill points would be very interesting. Generally speaking, a lot of the times when I make builds in Outriders, I often feel like, man, this build would be badass, like insane, if I could just have like 3 or 4 more skill points to put in. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they do that. Maybe they bring in some kind of like infinitely farmable valor, levels. I don't know, the sky's the limit here, really, and I really hope that People Can Fly can sort of surprise us here. But I think it goes without saying that we see additional levels, whether that's in a gear perspective, or whether that is in just our character actually leveling up. Now what I don't think we get in the expansion is a new class. I think that it is likely that we are not going to basically have an entire new class come into the game, and that's simply because I'm wondering how that would affect people that don't actually buy the expansion versus people that do. Surely there's 2 arguments here to say that if they do bring another class into the game, then this will be a great way for them to essentially kind of force people to buy the DLC. And what I mean by force is that you'll be playing the game and you'll be doing expeditions and you'll see this new class. You'll be like, holy shit, that class is so cool. I guess I should buy the expansion because I want to have access to that class. But on the other hand as well, I wonder that to make another class sort of like viable and to make another class sort of fit into the dynamics that we have and essentially how the game is built would probably be beyond the scope of this expansion. I think this expansion is mostly focused on additional content in terms of like story content and things that we can do, and not so much actually increasing the different kinds of classes that we can roll. So unfortunately, and I know this is probably a big downer to a lot of people, because there's all these great classes, additional classes, new classes that we can think of in our heads, but I just don't think it's something we see in the expansion. Then something which we obviously will get is additional story content. We can absolutely know for a fact that this isn't going to be like the New Horizons patch, which gave us a bunch of new expeditions but no actual new real story. This is, of course, this is a no-brainer. This is hinted in the trailer that we have seen for Worldslayer, that there's a new baddie, a new big bad, a new enemy, and this indicates new story content. And I think, of course, with that it also means more expeditions. So I definitely think we'll see more expeditions that are focused on this new content, but definitely we're going to see a new episode, a new piece of story content where we perhaps go to another planet, or this new enemy, this lady comes and attacks us on the planet or something like that, and she's basically the new threat that we have to deal with. So that's for sure definitely new story content. The second thing that I don't think that we'll be seeing, and this is also something which a lot of people always sort of ask for, is why this game doesn't have PvP. Now I'm kind of like, I'm not for it or against it in any way. It's not really something that it's refreshing for me to every once in a while play a game that doesn't have PvP and that is just focused on playing together rather than playing against each other. So I really don't mind this at all, but I don't think that we'll be seeing PvP coming with this expansion. Does it mean that we'll never see PvP in Outriders? I don't know. I wouldn't close the door on that completely. Certainly if the game continues on to be successful, continues on to be something that makes the studio and the publishers money, that anything, the sky's the limit, anything can happen. Maybe we see PvP in Outriders 2 or something like that, but I definitely think we won't be seeing any PvP in this expansion. The third thing that I think that we will see in this expansion is more weapon types. So of course, as we have it now, we have tons of weapon types. We have shot, and all of them also have, you know, different subtypes. So, you know, shotguns, submachine guns, assault rifles, light machine guns, pistols, you know, all of that. We have a huge variety of weapons already, but there's certainly more options available. It kind of seems like the trailer for the game hints towards melee weapons being like a bigger thing, which would definitely be very interesting. That would be cool. But I also think that there's a whole subclass of additional weapons which could still come to the game. You know, whether that's, I mean, I don't necessarily think I want a bow or a crossbow meta. I don't think that'll be really cool. But I certainly do think that it would be quite interesting to, you know, bring in, you know, explosive weapons into the game. So maybe like grenade launchers or, you know, rocket launchers or, you know, things like that, that you can actually, it's not power driven, but rather actually something that you can carry in with, you know, very, you know, like a heavy weapon with very limited ammo, but it's like super powerful and can deal a whole shitload of damage. That would definitely be interesting. So for sure, new weapon types in the expansion. Then the third thing that I don't think that we'll see is, I don't think they're going to necessarily change the model for the game in terms of like how content or how expeditions, how you group up is done. I know a lot of people constantly ask, you know, why is the limit 3? Why couldn't we have 4? Why couldn't we have 6? You know, anything like that. And I don't think that this changes anytime soon. Again, as my comment was regarding the PvP, this is certainly not something that I would take off, you know, the menu completely, but this would be a fundamental redesign for them of the system as a whole, and not something that I think the studio isn't capable of doing. But again, I think it's beyond the scope of this expansion. So I think they stick with what they have, which is 3-player content. So either you're playing solo, duos, or trios. It sticks with that. We don't see any 4s, we don't see 6s, we don't see anything like that, and that essentially stays the way that it is. The last thing that I definitely think that will be coming to this expansion, or with this expansion, would be additional elemental types. So we now know in the game, of course, that we have some elemental types that have effects, you know, either burn or you know, any of the other ones, and bleeds and all of that. But definitely there are, you know, other ones that are available there. And just in terms of, you know, sometimes the discussions that we have while we do these, by the way, shout out to the Thursday night streams. You guys need to check that out if you're still interested in maintaining any kind of content or contact rather with Outriders. Definitely check out streams on this channel every Thursday starting at 8 o'clock CET time, where we play the game together. It's always just for Outriders. We play the game together, we help people that are leveling up, that need to farm certain content. We do CT15s, we carry people, and just general as a community we hang out together. So if that seems like something that you enjoy, keep your eye open for that. That's every single Thursday without fail, so definitely come and check that out. We'd love to have you. But getting back to the elemental types, I often like these conversations that I have with fellow players where they say, you know, wouldn't it be cool if you had like, you know, some kind of thing that, you know, essentially gave you like life drain for the amount of damage that an enemy does to you. So it's kind of like a reflux effect, or, you know, there's definitely, you know, the elemental types that we have in the game are great, but there's obviously chance for more of them. It seems like this, I don't know why, but this villain for this expansion seems kind of like a succubus, like a vampire kind of thing. And I don't know if we could see some kind of like a elemental types that sort of tap into that, you know, into dark matter and that sort of thing. Maybe, you know, something around that. That would be very interesting. But at the very least, I definitely do think that we're going to see some additional damage types or elemental types. So I'll change it a little bit. I won't just make it elemental types, but definitely some additional damage types or elemental types. Now, the last thing that I don't think we'll see, or that won't be coming to this, and this kind of slots into my whole discussion about whether we would see more than 3 players in activities, is that we won't be seeing any raids or bottomless towers or anything like that. This is another thing which is quite popular in terms of discussions, usually with players, where they say it would be really cool if we had like really, you know, like a raid that, you know, you'd have 2 teams of 3 that go in, or even just a raid for 3 people that go in that has multiple bosses during the run. And, you know, it's just like really difficult contact with tiers that you have to go through and all of that. And I think that the model as the game is set up right now in terms of the expeditions and how they work, and I mean, some expeditions have like let's say medium bosses or field bosses and then the final boss, and So you have that to a degree, but certainly it's not really like in the raid sphere of what I think people are looking for. And just generally, when I think when it comes to raids, is people imagining like, you know, some expeditions you can finish in like 3 minutes, and some expeditions take a little bit longer. But generally speaking, expeditions are never content that is longer than 10, 12, 15 minutes. Doesn't matter how badly you're geared. And so I think people are looking for something that is a little bit longer, requires a little bit more, you know, difficulty to complete, and just in general, you know, fulfills more this like sort of like raid like activity, which is just, you know, super fucking difficult to play and usually involves more players. So again, I know this is kind of like a cop out because it slots in with the whole like 3 versus 6 versus 4 players thing, but I definitely don't think that we're going to be seeing anything that rocks the boat too much in terms of like how expeditions work and all of that. And what I meant by bottomless towers is also the idea of having like an activity that you can essentially, you know, go floor by floor and you see how far you go before you die. Now, I personally would fucking love that. I think the idea of like a bottomless tower or a topless tower, I don't know how to put that, but basically like a piece of content that you can essentially just repeat the entire time until you get to a certain level where it's just too difficult and you die, and then you get rewards based on that, would be cool. I would love that. But again, I don't think that that's something that we're going to see in this expansion. But if anybody from People Can Fly by any chance watches this, please, the full measure would love that shit, and I'd love you guys to put that in. But guys, that's it for the video. That's my list of things which I think will come to the game versus things that I don't think will come to the game with the expansion of Worldslayer. Either which way, like I said, I don't know any more about it than you guys do, but I'm as excited as you are for this. And I just hope that, you know, whatever we get is everything that I said now and more. Of course, I enjoy playing this game, as do most of the people that support this channel and most of the people that we hang out with. So this will just be a phenomenal win for us, and just a way for us to continue on playing this game that we all love so very much. Let me know in the comments down below, what's your list? What do you think comes to the game with the expansion? What do you think doesn't come with the expansion? Where do you agree with me? Where do you disagree with me? Let's have a discussion. I love that shit, and I love hearing from you guys. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. It's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, a great afternoon, and a super awesome evening wherever you are in the world. And until next video, fucking cheers.
They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me.